What is going on, everyone? Dude, right now we're going to do another comparison between an iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone SE. And the reason I'm doing this kind of later and I didn't do one earlier is because I recently just got an iPhone 8 Plus and I didn't want to just do it based off photos and videos that I didn't even have. So I figured now would be the best time. We have both of them in-house, so we can do our best. So if you guys aren't familiar with how I do these, usually I just go talk about the specs, the camera, all this other stuff. Then I go and run a speed test. So I just go open the apps. Both these phones have pretty much the same exact apps on them, so it's going to be pretty even. Both of them are running iOS 12. There's no iOS 12.0.1 yet. There is iOS 12.1 beta 2 that it has released, but I don't really want to get into that. I don't want to compare a beta to an official version or anything like that. So we're just kind of going to go and jump into it that way. Now looking at the front, obviously these phones look completely different. We have the smaller form factor, the iPhone SE, and the bigger version, which is the iPhone 8 Plus. And in some cases, you could say that the iPhone SE, it does look a little bit more sleek. I think so, just because it is smaller. I like the edges a little bit more. I think the iPhone SE, the 5 and the 5S were the best designed iPhone. The iPhone 8 Plus isn't horrible either, and it feels way more premium. The iPhone 8 Plus feels way more premium than the iPhone SE, but I don't think the iPhone SE feels horrible at all either. It still feels fairly premium for what it is. The iPhone 8 Plus, however, one reason why it feels way more premium is that it does have a glass back where the iPhone SE does not. Technically, the iPhone SE does have kind of a glass back, but it's only on the top and bottom portions of the back, so it's not full the full thing. The iPhone 8 Plus also has wireless charging where the iPhone SE does not have any sort of wireless charging at all. It's really not that big of a deal though. I don't really use wireless charging even though I have an iPhone 10. I probably should start, but to me, it's really not that big of a deal if I'm being completely honest. Now looking at the front of both these phones, the iPhone 8 Plus has a 5.5-inch 1080p IPS panel, and I don't think it's horrible. I think it's fairly good for what it is. It's definitely not an AMOLED screen, I feel like if it was OLED, it would have looked way better. So it's really not that bad. The PPI is pretty high too, so you're not going to have that bad of an experience with the panel on the iPhone 8 Plus. The iPhone SE has a 4-inch screen. It's also IPS. It's actually 640 by 1136. The PPI is a little bit lower than the iPhone 8 Plus, so it's not going to look as sharp or as clear, I guess, as the iPhone 8 Plus. And if we zoom in a little bit, it actually might look like the iPhone SE screen is a little bit sharper, but you do have to remember it's much smaller, so there's really, not as many pixels on the iPhone SE as it is on the iPhone 8 Plus. But definitely looking at them in real person, you can see that the iPhone 8 Plus has the better looking panel. And you also have to remember that the iPhone 8 Plus does have a true tone display, unlike the iPhone SE, which it doesn't have, so I would say the iPhone 8 Plus is definitely a better panel. Now another exterior change is actually the iPhone 8 Plus does have IP67 dust and water resistance, where the iPhone SE technically doesn't have any of that. So if you dump both in water for any reason, unless you drop it in the toilet or something, the iPhone 8 Plus will be able to handle it better than the iPhone SE. But you shouldn't be dropping anything in the toilet or anything. You guys should, have better say or better handling experiences. But the iPhone 8 Plus will definitely handle you better in more terrain locations. Water, dust, this phone will be able to handle it. Now looking at the back, we have completely different sensors. Don't mind the crack back on the iPhone 8 Plus. It's not that big of a deal. I think a lot of you guys said it wasn't a big deal either, so I'm not even going to change it. But you can see we have a couple different sensors. Obviously, if it had to choose between the two, the iPhone 8 Plus does have a better overall camera. But again, I don't think the iPhone SE's camera is horrible either. We have a single camera on the iPhone SE. It's 12 megapixels. It's really not that bad. It doesn't have optical image stabilization, which sucks a little bit, but again, it's not that bad at all. The iPhone 8 Plus, we have two 12 megapixel sensors. The one on the left is pretty much the primary one, and the secondary one is basically for zooming in and other features like portrait lighting, portrait mode, and other features like that. So I will say photos will look better on the iPhone 8 Plus, but the iPhone SE won't look that bad either. I'll definitely say that if you're a person who wants to take advantage of, portrait shots, you're taking a lot of photos of just like single characters or people or whatever like that, definitely the 8 Plus will do you better just because it has portrait mode and portrait lighting. Those two things alone are pretty much worth the upgrade. But if you're a person who doesn't really use the camera that much, I don't really care, like it's just a camera there, just like I am, the iPhone SE will do just fine. In terms of the video resolutions though that it can film at, both of them can film in 4K. The iPhone 8 Plus is able to shoot 4K at 60 frames per second, where you can only do 4K at 30 frames per second on the iPhone SE. And you're able to shoot 1080p at 120 frames per second on the iPhone SE, but you can do 1080p at 240 frames per second on the iPhone 8 Plus. So it really depends which one you want. Are you a person who's going to utilize all of those things, or are you not? That's kind of the question you have to ask. For me personally, I don't really think it's really that big of a deal. I'll be perfectly fine with an iPhone SE camera or an iPhone 6s camera, even an iPhone I wouldn't go to an iPhone 6 camera, but those cameras are pretty much the baseline, and these are the lowest I would go. They're not horrible cameras at all. The iPhone SE doesn't have a horrible camera, but just kind of keep that in mind. In terms of the front, this is probably the biggest difference between the cameras. We have a 7 megapixel camera on the iPhone 8 Plus, and we only have a 1.2 megapixel camera on the iPhone SE, which really sucks. I really wish they put this like to at least a 5 megapixel sensor, which is what was on the iPhone 6s. So they didn't switch it up, and they kept it the same as the iPhone 6, and I think it was the iPhone 5s had the same megapixel count too. And because it's so low, you can only shoot 720p videos on the iPhone SE's front camera, where you can shoot 1080p videos on the iPhone 8 Plus camera. So that in and of itself is a pretty big difference between both those cameras. Again, like I said, the back isn't really that crazy, but the front has quite a bit of noticeable difference between those two. Now let's go ahead and talk about the performance, but before we go run a speed test, all that stuff, let's just talk about the sheer specs of both these phones. The iPhone SE has the Apple A9 chip. It has a dual-core processor clocked at 1.84 GHz and 2 GB of RAM, where the iPhone 8 Plus has the Apple A11 Bionic chip, a hexa-core processor, and 3 GB of RAM. So technically speaking, the iPhone 8 Plus is going to be faster, and I think it's going to overall be a faster phone than the iPhone SE. Some people might say the iPhone SE is smaller, so it doesn't have many pixels to push on the screen, but I'm not one of those people. I think the iPhone 8 Plus is a much faster phone, which we will see in a second. And I kind of want to hit on the OS versions real quick. Obviously, both are running iOS, and I should have said this earlier, but I just kind of forgot. The iPhone 8 Plus will last you longer than the iPhone SE right now. I will say the iPhone SE will get iOS 13 and it'll stop there, where I think the iPhone 8 Plus will pretty much stop at iOS 15. So the 8 Plus still has many, many years to go. So if you're curious, if you think one is going to outlast the other, the 8 Plus will 100% last longer than the iPhone SE in terms of software updates. Now you could go, there could be a mass problem with the 8 Plus and it'll shut down, but the same thing could happen with the SE, but definitely for 100% the 8 Plus will last longer in terms of OS versions than the iPhone SE. But enough of that stuff, guys. Let's go ahead and run a speed comparison. So as usual, I'm going to clear out some of these apps as well. The iPhone SE is already clear. I'll go ahead and show you guys just in case you think I'm going to fake it or something. As you can see, all clear. So let's go ahead and just run some of these apps then. Let's go ahead and do camera. 3, 2, 1. They looked pretty even on both, if I'm being honest. Let's go ahead and do photos. 3, 2, 1. Again, look pretty even. Let's do calendar. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, that looked pretty even on both as well. Maybe the 8 Plus was a little bit faster. Let's do mail. 3, 2, 1. That looked faster on the iPhone SE, surprisingly. Oh, not another one of these ones. Let's do maps. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it was definitely the iPhone 8 Plus. Let's do clock. 3, 2, 1. Looked pretty even. Let's do weather. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, 8 Plus was definitely faster. Let's do stocks. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, I think the iPhone 8 Plus was faster, but that was pretty close. Let's do news. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Obviously, 8 Plus was way faster there. Let's do notes. 3, 2, 1. iPhone SE was a little bit faster there. Kind of weird. Let's do reminders. 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was like pretty even. Let's do App Store. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Faster on the iPhone 8 Plus for sure. Let's do iTunes Store. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Definitely faster on the iPhone 8 Plus, even if though this one had a little dialog box. Let's do iBooks. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Faster on the iPhone 8 Plus. Let's go ahead and jump into some third-party apps. Before that, let's do the Watch app. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Definitely faster on the iPhone 8 Plus as well. Let's go ahead and do Files app. 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's pretty much the same thing. Let's do Instagram. 3, 2, 1. Again, faster on the iPhone 8 Plus. Let's do YouTube. 3, 2, 1. Okay, faster. I would say faster on the iPhone 8 Plus to get into the app. Let's go ahead and do Facebook. 3, 2, 1. Okay, definitely faster on the iPhone 8 Plus. Literally like opened it like it was in the background already. Let's go ahead and do Twitter. 3, 2, 1. Okay, that was faster on the iPhone SE actually. Pretty surprising stuff. Sometimes you don't know whether one's going to be faster than the other. I still have not downloaded Snapchat on here, so we're just going to forget about it. Let's go ahead and do Stack. 3, 2, 1. Oh, might be the iPhone SE. It was like pretty. I think the 8 Plus, it got faster into the Game Center notification. So it's probably faster on there. Let's go ahead and do Fruit Ninja. 3, 2, 1. This one might take a minute. The 8 Plus is going to beat it because it's already... Oh, come on. Even though this pop-up was there, this one was still faster. Not a lot though. It wasn't 100 times faster, but it was noticeably faster, just a little bit. Let's go ahead and do Temple Run. 3, 2, 1. This one might be a little bit less. Okay, the iPhone SE looks like it's already into the lead here. It could still technically be slower than no, it might actually be. Okay, technically speaking, the iPhone SE was faster on Temple Run. Pretty surprising. I wasn't expecting that. Usually the iPhone 8 Plus beats it, but it's all good. Let's do LinkedIn. 3, 2, 1. Okay, iPhone SE was faster there as well. Let's go ahead and do Real Racing 3. 3, 2, 1. Now I think the iPhone 8 Plus should beat it. Okay, I'm going to keep tapping on the screens to see which. Okay, so this one's already in the game, and this one got in the game very shortly after. That is pretty surprising stuff. Okay, I'll show you guys the multi-core score now too. But you can see that the multi-core scores, 245,000 here, 129,000 here. So this one has about 100,000 lead on it. But in terms of just those speed tests that we did of opening apps, the iPhone 8 Plus is sometimes slower than the iPhone SE. And I would say that maybe it has something to do with the screen being less resolution or whatever. But you have to remember that the iPhone 8 Plus has an extra gigabyte of RAM as well. So it's 3 gigabytes of RAM here and 2 gigabytes of RAM here. And the iPhone SE is still holding its own. So that's actually pretty good. So I'll say 100% the iPhone SE is a little bit slower, I would say, as a whole. Even though sometimes it does open apps slower or faster, it does also open apps slower sometimes too. So I will say that as a whole, the iPhone 8 Plus does have the advantage here. Another interesting thing I want to quickly note on is that the iPhone 8 Plus does have overall better battery life as well. It has a 2,691 mAh battery here, where the iPhone SE has a 1,624 mAh battery. But technically speaking, the iPhone 8 Plus is clocked a little bit higher in terms of performance and everything. So you'll be pretty much set in terms of battery life for the iPhone 8 Plus. The iPhone 8 Plus still didn't have like amazing battery life, but it was definitely better than the iPhone SE. But I'll say a quick thing, I made a whole separate video talking about this too. The iPhone SE's battery life on iOS 12 was pretty good. My standby time was very good on here too. So if the iPhone SE had a bigger battery, it might have worked out better. But I'll say as a whole, you can't really go wrong with either of these phones. But in terms of performance and everything, the iPhone 8 Plus is better because it's supposed to be better because it's newer and it also costs a lot more. But I still have so much respect for the iPhone SE because in terms of everything you just saw right now, but you're also able to see how fast the iPhone SE still is, even though it's not even up to par with the iPhone 8 Plus in terms of specs, multi-core score, everything. And that is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, all that stuff is down there. I'd really appreciate if you guys check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. And hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.